officials seizing 1 ton of illegal cannabis. Nearly a dozen people are now under arrest. And as Eyewitness News reporter Josh Einiger tells us,
at 4:17 in the morning, 6 states across America were rocked simultaneously.
Armored vehicles stormed into what looked like ordinary houses. Doors were smashed open. The agents found tons of drugs and over...
Armored vehicles stormed into homes that looked like ordinary suburban houses. Doors shattered, floodlights swept the darkness, and what the agents discovered left the entire team stunned. Tons of drugs, more than $2.7 million in cash, stacked and ready for transport, an arsenal of weapons enough to equip a whole squad, and the most horrifying part, children hidden behind fake walls, huddled in the shadows. It all started with just one SUV pulled over for speeding on the Arizona Desert Highway. A single minor traffic violation uncovered a massive underground empire of a drug cartel infiltrating right into the heart of American neighborhoods. Las Sombra, the mastermind, still lurking out there somewhere. Will he get caught, or has he quietly rebuilt an even more terrifying network? If you want the full chilling story of how this unfolded from the very first minute to when 142 suspects were rounded up before dawn, then right now hit that like button, share this video with your friends, and comment below. Do you think Las Sombra will be caught, or is he still out of reach? Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next part, because this war is far from over. Everything began in Texas with a routine inspection. Evan Marshall was 31 years old, a low-level federal customs officer, healthy, active, no medical history. During a late shift, he noticed something wrong with a Mexican diplomatic shipment. The paperwork looked clean, but the weight was far too heavy. At first, the whole situation seemed completely ordinary. The vehicle was spotless, no signs of damage or anything suspicious. But when the officer checked the trunk, that's when everything started to unravel. Hidden beneath the floor liner, cleverly concealed by a precisely cut spare tire cover, were bundles of US dollar bills sealed tightly in plastic bags. A total of $34,000 stacked neatly, as if ready for a handover. The driver had no receipts, no proof of where the money came from, and no reasonable explanation for carrying such a large amount of cash. His story kept shifting, one version after another. Then came the second red flag. 2 cell phones, one with the battery deliberately removed. When they checked the vehicle's GPS unit, the history had been completely wiped, no location data left at all. Those details were enough to raise serious suspicions, but not yet enough for an arrest. However, the case didn't end there. It was just the beginning of a full-scale investigation. Federal agents were brought in. Just a few days later, they cross-referenced the driver's information with the DEA's database on illegal trafficking operations. That's when things escalated dramatically. Surveillance teams closely tailed his movements across multiple states, noting rental vehicles, stopover points, and bank branches. Each new piece of information revealed something even stranger. He never stayed long in any one place. He visited addresses registered under fake names. He deposited cash in amounts just under $9,000 consistently, low enough to avoid triggering automatic bank reports. The pattern started to emerge clearly. This wasn't some personal trip or a random jaunt. They were all part of a much larger system, like a carefully planned logistics network. And those addresses weren't real residences, they were stash houses. Overall, federal agents mapped out a network spanning Arizona, Nevada, Texas, and California. On paper, every location looked perfectly normal. Some were listed as auto repair shops, others as daycare centers or small warehouses. However, they all shared 3 common traits: short-term rentals, large cash payments, and a high turnover rate. Local residents had no idea. Some neighbors even waved hello to the people living there, never suspecting that the house next door was an illegal drop point for a criminal organization. In one case, a home disguised as a daycare center had colorful toys brightly displayed in the living room, but the back walls were hollow and insulated to conceal the goods. If you believe no former official should be above the law, like video and comment yes, the arrest of Jonathan P. Reeves should have ended the story. Instead, it opened a darker one. As FBI teams combed through his devices, a pattern emerged. Organized, deliberate, and far older than anyone expected. Operated on its own separate network, complete with secure routers. Surveillance cameras pointed toward the street to spot any unfamiliar vehicles. Drop-offs and pickups timed with precision. Goods moved in and out at dawn or in the dead of night to evade patrols. Everything was planned down to the smallest detail. Burner phones replaced weekly. Messages sent encrypted or using numeric codes. One device recovered from a suspect contained dozens of messages disguised as fast food orders, but they were actually coded schedules for drug shipments. The breakthrough came from a technical glitch that exposed two overlapping timestamps. Even more alarming was how deeply the network understood law enforcement procedures. Recovered GPS data from a hard drive showed routes deliberately avoiding certain highways and rest stops. Internal documents classified states by risk level, rating the vigilance of local forces, with Arizona and Texas ranked as high threat. This wasn't the work of amateurs. This was a highly professional operation. Finally, the agents pinpointed the stash houses through coordinated efforts, marking them on digital maps that resembled military strategy more than a criminal investigation. They built profiles of everyone coming and going, cross-checked utility bills, and logged ATM withdrawals in the surrounding areas. What had seemed like isolated locations were in fact interconnected nodes in a vast network. Every single one traced back to the original courier, the man with the spotless vehicle, the carefully wiped GPS, and no explanation for the large sum of cash. His route, once merely a suspicion, had now unveiled a much greater threat. This makes you wonder how many routes like this are still operating across the country right now. How many stash houses do you think are still out there, hidden in plain sight? Share your thoughts in the comments below. The deeper the agents dug, the more they uncovered. Dozens of rental agreements signed under fake identities, using stolen details from foreign students or elderly victims whose information had been compromised. One rental agreement used a temporary passport number from Honduras. Rent was always paid up front in cash. Sometimes they used remotely loaded prepaid cards. Inside, investigators found soundproofing materials, fake vent openings, high-powered air filtration systems, and packaging with unusual residue traces. Furniture was minimal and easy to move. Surveillance cables ran along the walls, connecting to hard drives hidden behind panels. One location had 4 monitors displaying feeds from cameras covering every angle. Each site operated independently, but together they followed a precise overall blueprint. It was a modular system designed to scale up quickly into new cities. A raid in Texas uncovered equipment identical to what had been found in California. Surveillance dragged on for months. Drones captured thermal imaging from above. Undercover vehicles tailed nighttime convoys. Every route was logged. Every package was tracked. Only when all the data was pulled together into a single system did the full picture finally emerge. What started as a simple speeding ticket had snowballed into a massive federal investigation. And this was just the prelude to one of the most tightly coordinated operations in years. Now, with the initial transport network exposed, intelligence shifted focus to the stash house managers. The first door was breached at 4 in the afternoon. It was a single-story home with a neatly mowed lawn and kids' bicycles on the porch. But inside, there were no bedrooms, no kitchen, no everyday belongings. The floor felt slightly raised, the wood soft underfoot. Upon closer inspection, the truth came to light. Beneath a thin layer of flooring was a hidden trapdoor. When it was opened, the air shifted stale and cool. Down in the basement were stacks of US dollars sealed in plastic. More than $2.7 million in total, sorted by denomination and marked with colored bands. The way it was organized showed this wasn't just storage. This was preparation for transport. The cash was bundled tightly, ready to move. And it wasn't just money. There was a bundle of burner phones next to cardboard boxes containing USB drives and plastic-wrapped notebooks. The notebooks listed abbreviated codes, dates, and linked accounts tied to illegal operations spanning 4 states. Another house told a different story. It was registered as a commercial workshop. From the outside, it looked like an old auto repair garage, but inside, everything was spotless. No grease, no tools scattered around, no stains on the floor. Instead, there were steel racks lined with boxes of long rifles, crates of ammunition, and walls hung with bulletproof vests. In total, 89 firearms were seized, including military-style assault rifles, handguns, and pistols with obliterated serial numbers. Some had custom modifications and foreign markings. 2 suppressors were still in their original packaging. 1 tactical vest bore the insignia of a Mexican criminal organization. The agents photographed every item and cataloged them meticulously. The arsenal was so massive that it took 3 hours to clear out. A computer hidden under the counter held encrypted folders containing shipping records and logs originating from outside the U.S. And this wasn't your ordinary stash house. This was an arms supply hub, but the third location changed everything. It looked like an abandoned property from the outside, broken windows, curtains drawn tight. As soon as they stepped inside, the overpowering stench hit them. The air was thick with chemicals and dust. The back rooms were sealed off with heavy plastic sheeting, housing a full-scale processing setup. Blocks of heroin next to sealed bags of fentanyl. Cocaine weighed out precisely on a folding table. A total of 2.9 tons of illegal drugs. But it wasn't just the narcotics. The walls were fitted with oversized ventilation ducts, the kind used in labs or industrial facilities. Fake vent openings designed to filter out odors replaced weekly. The rooms were sealed tight, lit only by dim LED lights overhead. In one corner, a camera blinked red, streaming live footage straight to a server overseas. The basement of the embassy became the first focal point. Rows of coolers, each marked with medical transport stickers, were cataloged and opened under strict forensic protocol. Inside were human organs, kidneys, livers, corneas preserved for rapid transit. Documentation recovered from a desk nearby traced the destination of each shipment. Fell deathly silent. On the other side was a narrow room with soft lighting and thin mattresses. Toys scattered across the floor. Children's drawings taped to the walls. Spanish and English workbooks next to juice boxes and plastic spoons. They weren't alone. Post-interview revelations showed that the children had been moved multiple times, shuttled between houses and forced to stay silent. This was no longer just a drug bust, it had turned into a human trafficking case. Evidence in the room pointed to a rotating detention system for the kids. Scraps of paper in the trash listed arrival and departure times. Most were held for 24 to 36 hours before being moved on. Some were picked up using fake documents. Others were loaded into covered trucks. A key found in the kitchen matched locks at another site, a fake distribution hub. Agents discovered QR codes hidden under the mattresses. Scanning them led to a secure online ledger. Each entry had a code, a photo, and transaction details. Fake names, blurry images, but the system was all too real. Some of the children were being forced into labor, others were simply hidden, waiting for the next leg of their journey. According to the victims' accounts, some had been promised adoption into new families. Others were lured with offers of restaurant jobs. None of them had any idea they were caught up in illegal criminal operations. The emotional toll on the officers was unmistakable. The task force that had started out handling cash and weapons was now carrying sleeping children to safety. Federal victim support specialists arrived immediately. The stash houses were temporarily transformed into safe havens while teams searched for more children. Every detail pointed to a meticulously run organization. Illegal goods stored and processed with precision. Weapons cataloged and arranged. Children rotated on an exact schedule. This wasn't chaos, it was a meticulously calculated plan. For the first time, the agents realized the true scale of the criminal network. It wasn't just about drugs and weapons anymore. This was an underground system engineered to transport anything at all without leaving a single public trace. By the time the raid on the 4th location wrapped up, agents had uncovered 6 more similar sites, scattered across suburban neighborhoods and industrial zones. But with the evidence of human smuggling now on the table, their mission shifted. It was no longer just about intercepting shipments. They were now hunting the architect, the mastermind, who had designed this entire invisible empire. At 4:17 in the morning, the quiet across 6 states was shattered. From Texas suburbs to California industrial zones, a precisely coordinated operation military and its execution unfolded. Drones hovered overhead, scanning for heat signatures and streaming live data straight back to command vehicles. SWAT teams moved in formation, breaching doors and sealing off streets and alleys in a massive synchronized raid. This wasn't an ordinary takedown. This was one of the largest federal sweeps in years. The FBI tracked the leadership. Cyber units monitored encrypted messages, VPN tunnels, and command signals routed through overseas servers. The DEA zeroed in on the drugs and weapons, while HSI tackled the human trafficking angle, uncovering fake guardianship papers and cross-referencing missing children reports. In the aftermath of the breaches, encrypted computers were cracked open, revealing a full network map. Connected nodes, management files, scheduled handoff times, and digital wallets used for money laundering. As the signal was given, teams stormed in. In one bedroom, 2 suspects jolted awake, one frantically wiping his phone while shoving a handgun under the pillow. On the floor sat a still-warm microwave, inside it cash that had started to burn. The suspects had tried to destroy evidence, but it was already too late. In Texas, officers approached a small, seemingly abandoned ranch. Neighbors thought it was just a seasonal rental. When they breached the door, they found 5 individuals inside one, bolted out a window and fled across a drainage ditch in the back. The takedown was swift. 2 AR-style rifles seized, an open tablet still displaying messages, and stacks of counterfeit documents. Similar scenes played out in Arizona, Indiana, Georgia, and California, suspects scrambling to destroy evidence, barricading themselves in different rooms, desperately trying to buy time. The primary targets of the operation were the key figures orchestrating the cross-border shipments through 3 states and their numerous subordinates. One suspect was linked to 600 cryptocurrency transactions, part of a financial structure deliberately designed to evade regulations. In California, seized weapons were found alongside equipment sourced from Central America. In Georgia, women had been tasked with overseeing the children's holding rooms, keeping them quiet, sometimes administering sleeping aids. What tied the suspects together was their role in maintaining the system. These weren't low-level street dealers. They were the core infrastructure. A massive haul of electronic devices, phones, tablets, encrypted USB drives was recovered, including one ledger detailing transactions, bonuses, and penalties. The goal was clear: disrupt the supply chain and the money flow, grinding the transport of drugs, weapons, and children to a halt. This series of raids marked a critical turning point, delivering a serious blow that weakened the entire criminal network. Seized phones revealed group chats involving corrupt officials, government intermediaries, and shell companies used for money laundering. The evidence pointed to a follow-up investigation, triggering international cooperation and audits of so-called charitable bank accounts. Yet, signs of retaliation fell silent almost immediately afterward. By the next morning, the cartel's communication channels had gone dark. Signal groups were deleted, Bitcoin wallets frozen, and email servers disconnected. For the first time in months, the entire system fell completely quiet. Federal spokespeople confirmed the operation's success: no law enforcement casualties. Suspects were in secure custody. Victim interviews began right away, while cyber teams extracted data to hunt down any remaining nodes. The analysis took a full week, but one thing was certain: the backbone of the cartel's U.S. operations had been shattered. The name Las Sombra repeatedly appears in files, outgoing communications, and keywords. His identity and location remain unidentified, but authorities are certain he is the mastermind, directing operations from abroad. With the network dismantled, he continues to monitor remotely. Following a major sweep in Arizona, a group of suspects was arrested, including a guide driver for the underground smuggling ring. The results of this operation exposed not only drug and weapons trafficking, but also child trafficking. This raid marked a significant turning point in the fight against cross-border crime, destroying key cartel infrastructure and disrupting underground financial activities. However, Las Sombra remains a major threat, with repeated digital devices and aliases indicating he continues operations from abroad. The biggest lesson from this story is that everyday vigilance can save the lives of many innocent people. What seemed like a routine traffic stop accidentally exposed an entire hidden criminal empire lurking right in peaceful residential neighborhoods we all assume are safe. The houses next door, auto repair garages, or familiar daycare centers could be concealing drugs, weapons, and even trafficked children. Always pay attention to unusual signs around you. Strange vehicles parked for long periods, secretive comings and goings, or frequent short-term rental agreements. Your observations could be the key to helping authorities detect and dismantle crime earlier, protecting our communities and innocent victims. Federal officials are clear. This isn't over. After crippling the domestic network, the next phase is international pursuit. Intelligence agencies are mapping out potential hideouts and allies in Central and South America. For Las Sombra, the noose is tightening. The U.S. message is unmistakable. There is no safe haven. There is no untouchable network. No cartel will be allowed to operate in American communities. As you follow the channels for deeper investigative updates and commentary, what do you think? Will Las Sombra be captured, or will he rebuild from the shadows?